Now, welcome to the next episode of the Rob the Dog podcast, and I have a very special guest. This person I've been following for a little while now across LinkedIn, across YouTube. He owns a chain of independent pet businesses in the UK, in the Northeast, if I'm correct, and is also a YouTube content creator, all around dog and cat nutrition. I'm very pleased to welcome Sam to the podcast.
Hello, thank you so much for having me. Thank you.
No, I appreciate you doing this. I said since we started this, it hasn't been that long. I really wanted to get a nutritionist on board. I've kind of I've outlined so many people that I am by no means a dog nutritionist or a cat nutritionist. I know a little about a lot. I'm the guy that sits behind the laptop, so I'm constantly want to learn and evolve because it's such a murky world, particularly the dog pet food market. And I've been following your content for a while now, and I don't think you mind me saying you're to some people you might be quite controversial. To me,
Yeah.
I don't think so, but you say it how it is. You're very honest, fair, and give your a valued opinion on what is happening in the pet food industry. Sometimes people forget about cats and they're so focused on dogs. It's great that you actually align with cat food as well, and you're a cat nutritionist. But I'm keen to get a bit of an understanding of your background and like how you've stumbled into this, how long you've been in the pet industry, and why you started creating this content, basically.
Yeah, sure. So I started about 5 years ago, which I started my first shop, and things went really well. So I opened another shop. Then we got the e-com side of the business, and then one day I was bored, and I was just like, people used to just come in and say the most ridiculous things, like too much. My dog food has too much protein or whatever, and I'd be like, no, that's factually incorrect. And I wanted to counteract what a lot of people were being told by by the big players or by the big corporations that I think is wrong. And the channel has taken off and content has taken off because I'm quite raw in my opinions, which aren't really opinions, they're facts. If you
Yeah.
know a little bit about nutrition, if you are a little bit into fitness, you will see a lot of similarities between dog food and human food. And so the content is doing really well. We have an e-commerce business, an online business. People listen from all over the world, and thank you so much. Yeah.
No, it's brilliant. It's brilliant. And I think, yeah, you're seeing this in the world now where we all know about human nutrition. And look, I look after myself. I try and buy single source ingredients and stuff like that. I'm always looking at packets. That is now filtering into the pet space over the last couple of years. A little bit less here in Ireland. It's getting better, but people are more conscious of what they're feeding their animals, basically. And is that what did you do you have your own did you have your own dogs? Were you before you started all of this, and then were you conscious of what you were giving them? Like, how did you stumble into this space?
I basically fell in love with dogs and cats, and I thought dogs and cats are they definitely are underserved, and the food a lot of pet parents give their dogs and cats isn't very good. And it isn't because they don't love their pets. It's because they haven't been told either the truth or they don't know better. You might know that unprocessed food is better for you, right? Yet, if I give you the highest processed bag of dog food, and if I convince you that this is grain free or this is a complete and balanced dog food, you you just forget about everything you know about nutrition in the human world, and you have a disassociation with your pets. And I think that's a bit it's a little bit criminal, really, if you think about it. Dogs have gone from being tools outside, sleeping outside, to sleeping downstairs, and now dogs and cats sleep on our beds. And that transition over the last 30 years has huge implications on how the consumer people think about their pets. And so, I mean, there's if you're sad like me and you read annual reports from Pets at Home, you will see that they say the secularization of the childification of pets, and premiumization is a trend, and people are paying a lot more attention. And so I think this trend is only going to continue. There have been some incredible mergers and acquisitions within the industry, within the sector lately, and it's only going to continue. Pet parents are going to keep on demanding better and better food, because at the end of the day, the better you feed your pet, the less likely the pet is going to develop obesity, diabetes, pancreatitis, any other health related issues, and the more money you are going to spend at the vet, which is what we want to do. We want to be living a good quality of life as human beings, and the same has to be said for our pets. So why not make that correlation between dog food or cat food and human food and see some of the similarities? So reading ingredients is extremely important, and I always say like this: I can tell you, Declan, right, that these have all the vitamins and minerals and calcium, and these is everything
Yeah.
babies or kids would need. However, these contain sugar. So,
I know it's
you-
mad. I've
you-
got two young kids, and it's mind blowing. When you go down the kids aisle in Tesco or whatever, and you actually read the back of the packet, like some of these products, they shouldn't be sold to children. Like it blows my mind. Like I'm so conscious of that now, in getting my kids just fruit or like cucumbers, and just instead of avoiding those bars that are highly processed and put together. And it's kind of disgraceful, to be honest. But when I'm interested to know as well, like when did you decide to start calling out like the pet industry, basically, in the dog food industry, in the cat food industry? When did you go, right, do you know what, fuck this, I'm going to start saying something, putting some content out there?
I just think you have to take a position, especially if you work for yourself. So if you work for a big company, you have to toe the line. You can't say certain things. You are employed. Well, I'm unemployable, Declan. I've been doing my own thing for many, many years. I
Yeah.
don't have a boss. I'm my own boss. I can say whatever I want, as long as I'm telling facts, and as long as I'm not saying anything that is a lie. I think I'm entitled to call out a lot of these companies who, in my opinion, don't have the best interest at heart, the best interest of the pets at heart. So that's why it goes with my personality as well. I wouldn't be able to just have a dog or cat nutrition channel or create content about nothing. A lot of the content you see is very, very dry, extremely dry, unless you go or onto like Ryanair or Aldi, for example. They do incredible amounts of marketing and incredible marketing, but everyone else tends to be really bland, really
Yeah,
boring.
I agree. It's either what I see is either really bland or boring, or it's the total opposite, where people are making gourmet meals for content for their dogs. They're putting quail eggs in bowls and everything. And it's like that's too far. I just want people to have a better understanding of what they're giving their dogs, and be a little bit more conscious of it. Like you don't have to have a gourmet meal for your dog every evening. Just do your research, get out there, speak to your local independent stores as well, because they're the ones that have the knowledge. It's not always, a sales assistant at a Pets at Home and stuff like that. They do care, don't get me wrong, but it's the local independents that are the heartbeat of the pet industry, in my opinion, because I'm one as well, like yourself. And they're the ones that we try and give a valid and honest opinion. We're in a position at our brand Dex Pets where we do sell everything, because we wouldn't be we wouldn't be open if we didn't. We wouldn't, because everyone else is doing the same. But what we have tried to do is bring in more natural, more supplements as well. Like we're the only ones in Ireland that sell Door West, which is a natural supplement range. We're the only ones that do that, which has been brilliant for us. So we're slowly, drip feeding it and teaching the pet public, like in store, like directly to them. Like people that come in aren't just a number, and it ain't about footfall and stuff like that. So we give them honest opinions, and that's why I was so keen to talk to you, because you're kind of like championing it. You're flying the flag. You're like, I don't give a fuck. I got my own brand. I'm going to say it how it is, and I completely respect that. And I think it's brilliant what you're doing, because there are. I saw, what's her name, Georgia Toffolo. She's that Made in Chelsea star that's got the raw food now. She calls it the kibble cartel, and she's not wrong. You know,
Yeah.
these big American brands, like we know who they are, we can call them out, and they are a cartel effectively. Like they control the market.
Yeah, and let me tell you something. Those three brands or those three conglomerates have started to come onto our territory, and I think they do agree with us. Uh, if you look at Origin, for example, Champion Pet Foods, which was acquired by Royal Canin, by Mars, they haven't acquired it because it's a garbage dog food. They have acquired it because it was making a dent in their sales. They were suffering. Now, I'm not endorsed by Origin.
You
I'm not.
sell Origin, do you, in store?
We sell Origin, but I live by the sword of ingredients and I die by the sword of ingredients. So if I don't like the ingredients in Royal Canin, I have to like the ingredients in Origin, and I cannot be a hypocrite about it. So I'll be 100% real with people. If things change, if the recipe changes or certain things change within the brand, I will call it out. But that's one of the trends that I think a lot of those three conglomerates are getting more into, and I wouldn't be surprised if they went into like other categories as well, maybe freeze dried, maybe a raw pet product, that sort of thing. But
Good.
these companies aren't stupid. If they
No.
see a trend and they see that trend is making money, they are going to make some acquisitions. And the acquisition of Champion Pet Foods by Mars is, in my opinion, the clearest example that something is actually working in that niche of the industry. And by the way, let me tell you something about independence. And if you're watching this, or listening to this while you walk your dog or whatever, you need to shop independent, because
Yes.
a lot of these big chains, right? They self congratulate every day on LinkedIn or everywhere. We have opened yet another store, blah, blah, blah. They are being pumped millions and millions of pounds or euros
Private
in
equity now, isn't it?
private
Private
equity.
equity.
And there are people like me and you who wake up every day who want to fight with our own capital, who have employees. Those employees have problems. We pay mortgages. We have to self sustain. And we don't have the luxury of self congratulating on LinkedIn, being like, we have opened this, we have done that, we have whatever. So if you can shop local, we really do appreciate it, and you keep us going. So thank you so
We're,
much.
we're
So yeah,
lucky.
shop independent, man.
We're lucky in Ireland. Now, Ireland is different to the UK. The Irish public, they have a tendency to shop local and support their independent chains. Ireland isn't flooded as much with big uh, global brands. So the supermarket pet trade isn't as big either. I notice in the UK every time I go over, the supermarkets have more and more down the pet aisle. They've got tons of Good Boy, whatever it is. They're even potentially moving into supplements. So I heard through the grapevine, Tesco are moving into the supplement space. That is just killing independence as well. It's killing businesses that actually truly care about pets. Like someone in Tesco, they probably have a dog and they like pets, but they don't have an invested interest in it as well. So we've noticed here that being an independent, and we've got quite a large store, that we've built such a community of customers. And my dad as well is the chairman of our local WSPCA, so doing a lot for charity as well has put us in such good stead and being part of that. But it's a murky world, the dog food industry and the cat food industry as well. Like you look at it now, like there's freshly prepared. There's the butternut boxes of the world that are making no money, but are just raising money left, right, and center. There's kibble, there's raw, there's cold pressed, there's freeze dried. Like, how do you, as a dog nutritionist, like, how do you navigate this, and where would you tier these types of foods? Like, what would be the best food in your opinion? Like, everyone thinks the gold standard is raw at the moment. We sell raw. Um, but is it the gold standard in your opinion? Like, what is?
So let's think about it from first principles, and let's keep it very, very simple, because dog nutritionists or nutritionists tend to overcomplicate things. So in a dog food, we want something that is high meat and low carb. We want to be paying for protein, and protein coming from animal sources, which is tends to be higher quality. Um, from there, we want to see what fits in our lifestyle, because I can tell you all day long that raw is amazing, that raw this, raw that, raw whatever. But you have kids, you're a busy professional, and you don't really want to touch raw. Maybe you're a vegan, maybe you don't like the sight of raw food. So I'm not going to press or pontificate on raw dog food. I'm going to find the best quality kibble for you, or the best quality dog or cat food that I can find for the money, for your budget, and for your dog or cat. And that is the end of it. So you want something high protein, low carbohydrate, and then you want something that is good quality. Try to look at ingredients. As a generic rule of thumb, we don't want sugar or sugar derivatives. We don't want any wheat, barley, corn, soy. We don't want to see things like natural flavors or meat and animal derivatives, or
Just fillers, aren't they? They're just
yeah,
absolute
fillers
fillers.
basically that dogs don't really need, and those tend to be the most prevalent allergens in dogs and cats. So if your dog or cat has a any dietary issues or any allergies or pruritus, or they scratch their ears or whatever, it tends to be because their diet isn't the best. Just like us, if we eat rubbish all day every day for years and years on end, the clock is ticking, and at some point the you are going to get into trouble. So it's incumbent upon you to look at what you're giving your dog or cat. And 10 times out of 10, in my opinion, whenever you talk to people, they do understand it.
Yes.
So high protein, low carb, and then let's find something that's adequate for your pet. Is raw best? Raw is minimally processed. That's the thing about raw
Yeah.
food. And minimally processed things are, or tend to be, better than heavily processed things. An exception would be maybe whey protein, which is extremely heavily processed, yet is incredibly good. So not everything heavily processed is bad, but I think
Yeah.
we can all agree that sugar, dextrose, or any sugar derivatives aren't the best for
Various
our pets.
sugars. When you see various sugars on the back of a product for a pet, it winds me up so much. Like it just
Yeah,
blows my mind. But what I actually really like about you is that you've got a really well balanced view on the dog food market. You're not turning around and saying, no, kibble's a pile of shit. No, there is actually good kibbles out there. There
yeah.
really is, that are not as processed and have less ingredients and less fillers. Raw, absolutely, might be perfect for your dog. You might be an older person, you might not have kids that are going to be handling raw meat. Freshly prepared, if you can afford butternut box, go for it. It's brilliant. Like, we know it's good. So this is what I love about your content, is that you're very fair. You're like, some people don't have the budget to afford a raw diet and stuff like that. So there are really good kibbles out there. Like, we know we have our own food. We get it from GA Pet Foods in Lancashire. We have a grain free and super premium, and it does extremely well for us. And we've never had anyone that has any problems. We've scaled back. We don't sell Royal Canin anymore. We don't sell Hills. We don't do Purina or any of those brands. Like, we push our own grain free, super premium foods, and they do really well for us, as well as also having raw. We have a number of raw customers that come in, and some really good like freshly prepared food in tins and stuff like that. And we tell people, we one of the first things we say to people if it's a new customer is like, what is your budget? And talk them through them. Like, this here is cheap and cheerful. This is middle of the road, but it has these ingredients in XYZ. This is top of the range here. We try and give them like a well balanced view. Like, have you considered raw? Have you looked at butternut box? Freshly prepared is growing in Ireland as well. But that's what I like about your content, is that you're saying it how it is, but you're also saying, look, certain foods they're not all bad. Like, dogs are different as well. Like, it's like a human. Like, not all humans can eat the same food. And that's why I really respect what you're doing and what you're pushing out there as well.
I think you can be a hypocrite in the space, and there are a lot of people who are actually hypocrites, and they have opinions that just have a very very specific narrative. But that's not. I am a lot more reasonable, and I think you have to be reasonable, otherwise you lose all credibility. Not everything is horrible, and not everything is amazing. There are middle roads, and you have to call things out as they are, not as you want them to be. And I think that's really important. There's this, and it really irks me as well. There's the cohort of holistic veterinarians or holistic people who are diametrically opposed to the the corporate vets and the big three and the 500 scientists that Royal Canin or Purina has or whatever, and they are two opposing. Both say certain things that you can pick from, So I highly encourage people to do their own research, to go into things with eyes wide open, and to not be so narrow-minded as to just listen to holistic vets or just to listen to the Purina vets or whatever. Try to see where you can learn more and see what makes sense for you and for your pet.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'd want to get your opinion as well. And like, obviously, you're in the UK, so you have it's the foods that you deal with and are UK based. A lot of them are in Ireland as well. But what would be like the top three foods to like avoid right now? So I've got a brand new puppy. I'm going in, I'm going shopping around. I'm going to look into a few shops and looking online. What are the foods to, I'm probably in a mindset where I'm going to just feed kibble. What would I avoid?
So again, as a generic rule of thumb, because we don't know where you are in the UK, we don't know what access to foods you have. So giving you brands might not be the best. So we are going to avoid any sugar or sugar derivatives. And we want to avoid wheat gluten. So wheat gluten provides very little in terms of nutrition for dogs or cats. Dogs in this case, we want to probably avoid rice as well. So it's never the case that you look at a bag of dog food and it says 3% rice or 5% rice. It's normally 30, 40, 50%. And the problem with rice is that it expands when you cook it. So if you make a curry at home, that rice is going to expand. So a lot of manufacturers will say 20% rice. In reality, it's 40, it's 50, it's whatever. Same can be said for peas. 3% peas might be equivalent to 14.5% peas. So you have to be mindful of filler. Anyway, no wheat, no barley, definitely no corn,
Yeah.
maize, things like maize grit, for example,
Yeah.
any meat and animal derivatives, anything that isn't specific, we want to avoid. What do we want to see? We want to see freshly prepared lamb. We want to see dried chicken. We want to see venison. We want to see dried buffalo. We want to see dehydrated mackerel, dehydrated sardines, quail, eggs. We want to see those foods, those whole foods as fillers, as because kibble needs to be attached together by a starch. That's how you make
Yeah.
kibble. You can use wheat gluten, which comes from agriculture, or you can use apples and pears and other botanicals. So we want to choose better carbohydrates. Green beans or broccoli or leafy greens are better than wheat gluten or corn. So high meat, low carbohydrate, look for wholesome ingredients. Um, Clarity. We want traceability. We want clarity in what we are giving our dogs. Because if I give my puppy meat and animal derivatives and the puppy has runs all the time, I don't really know what's triggering the runs. However, if I give the dog fresh chicken and the dog keeps having runny poos, I can make the one-to-one correlation
Yeah,
causation,
you know then what it is, what the issue is. Like it
and
might be
then
an
I
allergy.
can go on to a fish diet or a
Yeah.
lamb diet or whatever.
No, it's brilliant advice. It's brilliant advice. I've got a, I got a puppy, a rescue pup. We had the issue with the runs and everything like that. Um, Now I've got him on a cold press food. It was the one that I found really, really agrees with him, and it's brilliant. It's a brilliant food. Um, and then we also supplement him as well with a digestive support from Door West. And I'd love to get your a quick opinion on supplementing as well. Should people be supplementing puppies like early on? Should they be giving them joint and health supplements or digestive support or overall like all in one type supplements from a puppy, or should they start maybe a little bit later?
I am a big fan of being as natural and intact for as long as possible. Let me tell you why. Because
Okay, that's interesting.
you can get everything you want and need from the food.
From foods,
When
yeah.
you're 20 years old, you feel like King Kong. and nothing can stop you. And you can eat rubbish all day, every day. You can have 3 hours kip and then go again and then go to work and
Oh,
now
take me
party
back. Take me
and
back.
just everything. As you get into your 30s, 40s, 50s, and 60s, things start to, falter a little bit. And that's when we want to maybe start supplementing. Supplementing for the sake of supplementing, in my opinion, isn't the best thing. You are going to spend more money, and
Yeah.
is the puppy or is the young dog really going to uh, get everything they need from supplements? Maybe not. If the dog has something, it's if the dog is massive, if you have like a huge dog, maybe add something with glucosamine and chondroitin for joint support. But even then,
But
you
that's
haven't
probably
developed.
come from food, hasn't it? Like, if the dog's
Yes.
massive, it's come from what they feeding him, and it's the diet.
And if you give the dog rabbit ears, for example, that contains cartilage and
Yeah.
chondroitin and glucosamine or green lipid muscle. So you want to get everything from the food, just like with us. And then as dogs age, as dogs deteriorate or whatever, then we can start adding certain things.
Yeah, brilliant. I know we're a little bit pressed for time, but I was just going to say, what foods do you have in the pet quarter? Like, which ones are you selling at the moment? What do you?
Yeah, so we sell Eden, we sell Origin, we
Yep,
sell raw food. We have two brands, Nutriment and Paleo Ridge. We
yep.
sell Canagan, we sell Aquila, which is a dog food from the Isle of Man. We sell Carnilove, and we sell all the bits and bobs as well that I can't remember. So yeah, we have a tight knit of portfolio of brands that we sell that, you know if we think we see ourselves like Costco or like one of these big platforms. When you go into Costco, into IKEA, when you go into IKEA, you know what you're getting. You're getting what you're getting. You're getting IKEA. When you
Yeah,
fly with Ryanair, you know what you get.
yeah.
A
Cheap
kick
and
in the
cheerful.
face and a cheap flight. That's what you get.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So if you come to the pet quarter or you listen to the content or you watch the content, you know what you're getting. You get solid advice. You get good foods. So everything you get at the pet quarter is good quality. Is probably a lot better quality than you can get in big box retailers. So those foods tend to work for us really, and we get approached all the time, hundreds of emails every week, as you can as you can imagine, from all over the world. Can I send you samples? Can I sell this? Can I sell that? But for now, we just stick to what we know really.
No, brilliant. And keep doing what you're doing. I think the content that you're pushing out there is brilliant. I think everyone should jump on it. Your YouTube channel is absolutely flying it as well. I'm loving it. I'm a big advocate of what you're doing. As I say, we're trying to move more and more into the natural space, into single source ingredients and this type of thing. As the Irish market catches up with the UK as well. As I said, we're a little bit behind. One last question I've got for you: if there was one thing you could change in the pet industry, what would it be?
Hmm.
Or the dog industry or cat industry, like us?
It's really hard because especially the big three, they are deeply entrenched in everything. They are everywhere. They write literature that vets read. They sponsor veterinary schools. And we know this from freedom of information requests. University of Liverpool, University of Edinburgh, for example. There's a couple more that I can't remember. They are embedded in AFCO. They are embedded in FEDIAF. They are everywhere. They have a beautifully vertically integrated business.
Yeah,
So if you go back to agriculture, right, and your average farmer, whenever that farmer is feeding cattle, what do you think that farmer is thinking about? They're thinking about, what is the minimum amount of protein I can get away with for
yeah,
maximum yield? How can I feed my cattle for as little as possible for maximum yield? So, as corporations get bigger and bigger, you have bigger and bigger shareholders. Those those decisions made in boardrooms doesn't necessarily equate with what dogs and cats need or
No.
what's best for them is what makes more money. So if we can somehow reverse that, or us as consumers, me and you, can educate people one at a time and say, that contains cereals. Why do we need cereals in pet food? Maybe don't buy that. And you can educate one person, and that one person doesn't buy that food. And then they have a good experience because the dog or cat does better
Yep.
on a food without cereals. Then companies will start shifting. They'll start buying more origins. They'll start
Yep.
getting more and more into the space. So if how can you change things? You can change things by buying better foods. You can change things by informing the consumer, and you can change things by being proactive in the
Yeah.
space. We live in the age of information. I
Yeah.
can
And
I talk to the whole world. I get emails. I get
yeah,
people contact me from India, from Australia, from wherever,
from
and
Ireland.
from Ireland, and it's incredible. So information travels fast. So you
what
can't
what I was going to say is what I've got from this, what you've just said there, is transparency. Like, the information is there because they do have to be transparent, these businesses, but it's getting it out there and getting that transparency into everyone that owns a pet's hands, so they can make informed decisions. Basically, they can make their own decisions.
take a stance. So if
Yeah.
you look at FEDIAF, the European Federation,
Yeah.
they basically say that everything is okay. So everything is okay. Every diet is okay. Even vegan diets for dogs and cats. The nomenclature, the words they use are very, very vague, and they're very, very vague on purpose because they don't want to attract lawsuits. However, as as a body, as a trading body, as a trade association, you should be able to say, this is good, this is bad, we endorse this, we don't endorse that. Maybe not rubbish things, but say, we don't endorse it. We don't recommend vegan diets or we don't recommend raw diets or whatever. Just take a stance so that we know where you are. But yeah, they totally lack transparency,
Yeah.
and it's something that it won't change because
No, it
the
won't change because it's all about money, isn't it? In the end of the day, but keep doing what you're doing. I think it's absolutely brilliant. I don't have anywhere near the knowledge you have when it comes to nutrition, so I would never want to, put myself out there because I'm not an expert, and that's why I love speaking to people like yourself. I appreciate you so much for coming on. I think this is brilliant. I think this sort of information, people aren't getting here in Ireland. They're not, and this is why I'm doing this. They're not getting this information, and this is why we're trying to fly the flag and trying to push out what's true within the pet industry. And thank you so much for coming on. I really appreciate it, Sam.
no problem. Thank you so much for having me. Let's do it
Thanks,
again
buddy.
soon.
Absolutely. Cheers. Bye.
Cool.